Welcome to the Seahawkers podcast with your hosts, Adam Emmert.
Aaron Rodgers can't be the number one player in the league. He slipped last year. He did. I can't blame him. He's probably distracted by his super hot girlfriend. Like, I understand. He's got other things.
And Brandon Schultz.
We need to be more encouraging of Pete Prisco, Adam. We need to help him along. Good job. You had Russell in the top 50. We've told you many times to do better, and now you are. We're proud of you, Pete.
Go Hawks!
On a quest to own the West, yippee-ki-yay, we make the ground shake. On game day, 12 man, yeah, he's feeling it is vital. The Seahawks coming to take division titles.
This is the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandon Schultz, member of the Military Seahawkers. Joining me, my good buddy, Adam Emmert.
And founding member of the Montana Seahawkers. I wanted to make sure to put that in there.
You did, yeah.
Since you're shorting me on my title today.
Well,
that's fine, though. That's fine, because I'm in a good mood, Brandon. You can't even get me down about it, because football is back. It is back. I watched Seahawks play football this last weekend.
It was great, and something about beating the Chiefs 17-16, it just feels right? I mean, you go back to the 1990 game where Craig throws the touchdown pass in the back of the end zone to Paul Scanzi, and then way back in 1980, there's very few times where the Seahawks in the regular season, and we're just talking preseason here, but in the regular season, the Seahawks do not win very often historically at Arrowhead. So it's nice to see them get a win at an opposing, on the road in Arrowhead, even if it's just the preseason and 17-16. They did it back in 1980. They had that same score. So I knew that when it came down, when it was 16-15 at the end of the game, just a 17-16 score, it was going to happen.
Wow, man. You've had a lot of time on your hands since the game to find those old scores. That's pretty impressive.
Well, I knew the Scanzi one, and I had to go back and look and see what other times the Seahawks won at Arrowhead, because I know it hasn't happened much.
It hasn't happened much. It hasn't happened much for many people, but yeah, if that's the way this season's going to go down, man, go to your heart doctor right now, have them get you all checked out, make sure you're tip-top, because man, if it's going to come down to the wire like that every single game, you're going to need a defibrillator in your living room. There's no doubt about it.
Yes, we'll talk more about it. We have a lot to talk about on this week's show, Adam. We're going to recap the Chiefs game, talk about who stood out in this game, some of the things we saw at training camp. We were at training camp last week, Adam, so we have to talk about that. Speaking of training camp, we got interviews with Jordan Big Play Babineaux while we were there. We talked to Jermaine Kearse, so we'll bring you those interviews. And then finally, we have a big announcement concerning a guy that we featured, Adam, in our top 15 former Seahawks every fan should know. So stay tuned for that.
You bet. A lot of big news, a lot of big things to cover. But let's start with the game, man. It was live action, live bullets. We finally got to see some of these guys that have been hyped up and all that stuff get out there and actually knock it around a little bit. Anything stand out? What? Is there any position group, any guy that is number one in your mind that stood out like bigger than life to you?
Well, the guy who jumped off the screen to me throughout the game was Tyvis Powell. Some of his on special teams, you talk about how guys on the fringe make a team based on their ability to play special teams. And to me, some of the hits that, right off the bat on one return, he just lays a dude out. And then later in the game, Adam, he intercepts a pass from the Chiefs.
From his own 44, out of his shotgun, takes the snap. Seattle blitzes, throw down the middle, ball's tipped up and intercepted. It's Powell at the 40-yard line, stumbles, gets up. Now he's on the move, wrapped up and dropped across midfield by the Chiefs. But a nice job as that ball is tipped, and there is the safety, the youngster Powell from Ohio State, who picks it off. And suddenly the Seahawks have some life over on that bench area, and the offense trots onto the field with 9:53 to play.
What a cool story. What a cool kid. I mean, every year we have that undrafted free agent that kind of pops up and gets everybody talking a little bit. And Tyvis Powell is the first one to come up like that. And I like his attitude. There's a quote here that I saw of his after the game. And he says, quote, "Whatever it's going to take me to make this 53-man roster, I don't care if they tell me, Tyvis, we need to go get the water for everybody. I'm going to be the best water boy in America. They say, Tyvis, go take a rep at corner. I go to corner. Tyvis, go to safety. I go to safety. Whatever they need me to do, I'll do it." I love that attitude, man. Just willing to do anything to make the league. And that's the type of spirit that you hope every player plays like. Like, if you and I were gifted with any athletic ability at all, like, I'd like to think that that's the type of effort and willingness to try to just be in the NFL. Cool kid. I hope that his preseason run continues, but obviously special teams is probably where he would find his niche, and he can lay the wood on special teams. We saw that for sure.
Absolutely. No. And Coach Carroll after the game said, he potentially envisions him playing that Deshaun Shedd type role. And so we've seen Deshaun Shedd go from, a fringe type player to a guy that, to a versatile player who it now looks like he could be the starting cornerback opposite Richard Sherman, or at least flex in when Jeremy Lane moves inside. And they put in the nickel package and to be one of the 3 corners out there.
You bet. We'll talk more about Shedd and some of the defense here later on. I think, one of the things that we all look at, right, is we want to see how the ones kind of look right out of the gate.
Yeah, let's start out with the ones and how some of the things that we saw on offense and on defense.
Right. So let's start with offense a little bit. We had the one drive where it was basically Kansas City's first team defense against our basic first team offense. And I know Kansas City's missing a couple guys too. Eric Berry's not out there. I get it. And it's vanilla game plan and all that stuff. But we sat here and wrung our hands over this offensive line for months and months and months. And that interior of the offensive line, really the offensive line as a whole, they really performed amazingly throughout the game.
Yeah, Adam, I have to say that first team offensive line, I was impressed. I mean, can you use that word with the offensive line?
I think so. I mean, but then again, it's about managing expectations, right? Our expectations were very low. And so any sort of performance was something that really made you stand up and go, wow, this is fantastic. But it was a little even more than that, I think. It's more than hurdling a low bar. It's more that Russell Wilson had time to throw. It's more that there were holes for Christian Michael to run through. It's more that Glowinski looked dominant. I mean, he was moving people all over the place. It's more that Justin Britt looked like a competent NFL center. I mean, he really did.
Yeah.
I mean, the Britt progression is working, and it's really cool to see. And then the other thing on top of that was having Bradley Sowell out there at left tackle, which moved Gilliam over to right tackle. Even though he had been practicing on the other side, Gilliam had a strong game. Sowell looked good. And this is against a good Kansas City defensive line. Yeah. And I mean, for a first, I know there's no game planning. I know it's vanilla scheme. I know it's all of that. But
if you can move a guy even in a vanilla scheme, it's helpful to know and to see Justin Britt out there and being, like you said, you can envision him as a center. Russell Wilson said he barely even realized that he didn't have experience at center because it seems so natural to him out there. And it's good to see that.
It really is. And I mean, because I think out of all of them, Britt probably scared us the most, right?
Well, because of the Britt progression, right? It's not supposed to progress toward the positive. And it did. And it looks so far like it has.
Right. I mean, and that's with a huge caveat. I mean, we're talking about a couple series and like all of that.
But he was getting to the second level consistently. You look at those couple plays where Christian Michael had some really good runs up the middle. He was getting 15 yards up the middle. And when you can, and the reason why you see that is because you see them making their initial block, getting to the second level. You see Christian Michael being able to pick up a good amount of speed up the middle. That's really exciting for me. If you can have 3 guys in the middle of your offensive line able to push guys around, get to the second level and move guys like that, even if it's just the preseason, if they can carry just a portion of that to the regular season, I'm looking forward to what this offensive line has to offer.
And I really like the way that Britt and Glowinski were working together. I mean, those two guys are going to be a real force out there, it's starting to look like. And what's funny is we haven't even mentioned Ifedi yet.
No.
The first-round draft pick, who really held his own out there. Sure, he had a couple rookie mistakes. He had a holding call on a play and some of that. But
no pre-snap penalties this game, Adam.
Wow. Yeah. Think about that for a second. Let that roll over you. And not only that, in a preseason game.
Yeah.
Where things are notoriously sloppy.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty amazing. Now, the real question is with Jamarcus Webb with his injured knee, I was reading today. It sounds like he won't be back for this game as well.
Okay.
The second week. Is he now playing himself out of a starting spot? I mean, because it's starting to feel that way a little bit.
It is, especially if Sowell held up as well as he did. I don't think the Seahawks would have any issue if he's the fifth best guy with saying, Gilliam, I know we had plans of putting you at left, but if Sowell's not going to play right tackle, then that's where you're going to be. And that's just the way it is. I don't see an issue with that as long as those are the best five guys.
Exactly. And they seem to work well together. The communication seemed to be good. Now, I know Cable said that they could do a little better with some communication stuff. Not so much in missed assignments, but just more in some of the other aspects of the game. So their pad level was low. They moved people around. It was super encouraging, man. And as a result, you saw Russell Wilson go out there and really sling the ball around and look pretty good.
Well, and you could see that they have that emphasis on getting the ball out quickly. And that was probably helpful to give the offensive line a little bit of confidence quickly, right? Because if they went out and had struggles right away, it was just the one drive. So you want to show that you can get out there and move the ball well. And that's what they did. They moved the ball well. He threw it. He got it out quickly. Doug Baldwin, a couple of nice catches. You had Tyler Lockett with a great grab that, that only he could catch that outside. And then unfortunately it ends with the interception to Marcus Peters. But part of that was just, Russell getting the ball to Kearse just a little bit late.
Yeah, and it wasn't so much that it was late; it was more that it was thrown behind.
Yeah,
I mean, V leads Kearse, closer to the side.
Yeah, throws a little higher. That's fine.
Yeah, oh, you could throw it higher too. Yeah, but more outside, you've been fine. But I mean, heck, as good as Russell Wilson is in the decision making aspect of things, I'm not worried that he threw a pick.
Oh no,
yeah, in the end zone. I'm more excited about the idea that he was able to move the ball up and down the field because they were picking up, whether it was Christine Michael or Russell Wilson. I mean, 10, 11, 12 yards a chunk, on that first drive. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and you had Lockett get that third down catch and to keep it going. So,
and you saw Paul Richardson out there making some plays. That was really encouraging to see. I mean, just to kind of remind you, hey, that guy he's still here. He can make plays, and that's your fourth receiver. Yeah. Baldwin catching a couple slants early. It was like, oh yeah, that's still there. That could work all year. And with that quick rhythm passing game, the idea is that you hope the offense could pick up where it left off last year, right? I mean, barring the Carolina game. I mean, even though they came back and everything. But it looks like maybe that they really have captured some of that energy going forward.
Now, how do you feel about Michael with him back there? Because we've been fooled before, Adam, and Michael picking up a couple good runs. Is he carrying this over from last year, or are we seeing preseason Kristen Michael that we've seen the past 3 years?
Well, I think the key is just what you mentioned. We saw it towards the end of last year, right? And there's been a large period of time that has passed since then. And by all accounts in camp, he's looked very good, which, again, we've seen before in the preseason. But then you have him looking really good in this preseason game. And you combine that with the fact that he played well at the end of last season. That's far more a trend than a coincidence. And I think from all accounts, I'm starting to believe the idea that he's growing out of being a knucklehead a little bit, and he's figured it out. And he could be a guy that splits some carries with Rawls. That's great. If we have both Rawls and Michael ready to rock, let's say Rawls comes back and he doesn't look good from his ankle injury, and I lose a bet to the Rams podcast, then at least we can still win games with Kristen Michael. I'm fine with that.
Well, I want to get into more of this bet because we did finalize this bet, Adam. But we can talk about that after the break and get into that a little bit. But let's move over to the defense now. What we saw from the first team defense as far as the Seahawks go. Now, it was a little bit rough because they tried to drop the kickoff in, ahead of the goal line, so they forced them to return. The Chiefs got a pretty good return out of it. Then they get a face mask call, and the Chiefs start with the ball at about midfield.
Yeah, they do. Out of all the hand-wringing we had over the offensive line, we all felt super confident about the defensive line coming in, right? And yet they got pushed around pretty good. It wasn't that, they gave up some points and all that. Like, that doesn't bother me so much. I mean, Macklin was out of bounds on that catch just before they scored anyways. Mm-hmm. That set him up on the one. So that would have been third down, kick a field goal, fine. That doesn't bother me. It's more that they got pushed around in the run game. That's something that bothered me quite a bit. Now, one thing to kind of take note of is they ran right at where Michael Bennett would normally be.
Right.
So that's something to think about. But, you talk about Reed and Rubin and all these interior guys. We should be very stout up in there. And the Chiefs, they got theirs on the ground. They really did early in the game.
Yeah, and despite that, I watched in particular Jaron Reed on that initial drive because he was out there with the starters, and he, to me, looked pretty good in the run game. There was one play where he got a 3-4 yard push back into the backfield. There was another play. He covered his gaps well, and on those runs where the Chiefs got their yardage, Reed had covered up his gap and actually forced a guy to another gap, or forced the running back to a different gap that kind of allowed them to get the big gain. But to me, for the rookie and just seeing him in there, he looked like he knew what he was doing on the NFL level. So that was encouraging to me.
Yeah, that was encouraging. I mean, again, first game, and at least you look competent, and so that's pretty cool. And no Cam Chancellor out there makes a difference too, of course. But I think we saw Mike Morgan a lot out there with the ones, those first couple drives, and didn't do anything spectacular, didn't do anything to screw it up. And that's basically what we expect out of him, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And it's not a bad thing. I'm not knocking him for that at all.
Right.
I think that's great. But I mean, the defense was so-so. And that's the thing is you see that performance and you go, oh, no, they're not going to get it together. And this is a team that led the league in defensive scores over the last 4 years. I'm not particularly worried.
No, and like you mentioned, that was third down when they got that pass to Macklin where he was out of bounds. And when you give a quarterback like Alex Smith 8 seconds to throw the ball, he's going to find an open guy. And to me, the Chiefs, too, they have the type of offense that has kind of given the Seahawks a little bit of trouble in the past because they have that ability to hit guys on short passes. They have the ability to run the ball. And those are sometimes the teams that the Seahawks have struggled with. And with the short field, the score, it wasn't that big of an issue to me.
No. And the other thing we didn't see show up really at all was the pass rush. And that was something that was interesting.
And that's the one thing I think that made that the fact that they couldn't get off the field on third down, the fact that they couldn't get to Alex Smith in that amount of time.
Yeah. And so obviously a lot of things to work on when it comes to the defense. That'll be fine. Chris Richard will get a lot of those things cleaned up. Of that, I have no doubt. And look, again, there's no game plan. There's nothing like that. So I think that goes for a long ways towards explaining some of the struggles. But I think they'll be fine. They'll be fine. I guess I was more encouraged at the end of the day of the offense's performance, especially the first-team offense, than the first-team defense. And I didn't expect to be saying that coming out of the first preseason game because generally defense is ahead of the offense early in the season. I mean, just as kind of a rule of thumb. And they're clicking, man. I think this offense could be a little juggernaut when it comes time for the Dolphins week 1.
Well, another guy I want to make sure that we talk about is Trevon Boykin because we had that concern of could this guy...
You had that concern.
I had that concern. Could this guy be the Seahawks backup quarterback or would the Seahawks have to look somewhere else? And it turns out throughout the game, his first appearance in the game, I think he left the game the first time with only about 66 yards passing. But then they bring in Jake Heaps, give him a couple series, and then Coach Carroll apparently surprises, not necessarily surprises, but puts him out there without Boykin really knowing he was going to go back into the game. But Carroll had the plan to put Boykin back in just to see how he would react. And he reacts by throwing the Hail Mary as time expires.
Clock is still moving. 5 seconds. Going to have to go to the end zone with this one. Boykin going to find himself a place. He's going to stand strong. He's going to throw to the end zone. Reaching up, making the catch. He got a touchdown. Seahawks. Are you kidding me? Tanner McAvoy, just give him a chance. Your quarterback, Trevon Boykin, throws it up. And McAvoy uses all 6 feet 6 inches to reach up and make that catch. My first time this year. Holy catfish!
Rabel can't even get through the preseason without a holy catfish.
Hey, that's fine, man. I want to hear all the holy catfishes this year. Like, I want a ton of them. But McAvoy kind of stood out a little bit too with the way he was able to high point the ball. And again, it's against the threes and all that. And I get it and everything, but you got to go out there and still perform. But as far as Boykin goes, he looked like a backup quarterback for the game. Like he looked like a legitimate backup quarterback. And to have the moxie to take him down the field with, what was it? Was it under a minute?
It was just over a minute, yeah.
Just over a minute, and go 80 yards and come up with that score. And the thing was, I thought he was going to screw it up. Like, they get down there, and the clock's ticking down, right? Tick, 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 tick. And you're like, are you going to spike the ball or what? No. Boykin's not spiking the ball. He's calling a play, and which turns out kind of helped him out a little bit because now the personnel's not out there for the prevent jump ball situation and all that. And they got matched up one-on-one instead.
Yeah.
And which allowed McAvoy to go up and just win that one-on-one battle. But I liked what I saw out of Boykin. Made some mistakes, made some nice throws, looked to be in command, understood the calls. For a rookie in his first preseason game, can you ask for a lot more?
I like seeing the mobility out of him. He had that one play breakdown where he ended up running it all over the field. I thought he looked good there. I thought at one point he was probably going to score, but the Chiefs ran him down. But he looked good running around out there.
He's an athlete. He's got a good arm and apparently a good head on his shoulders. I think we've hit on something here, and another place where we can save money, maybe other than the offensive line. So that'll be great.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. And if I feel better now after watching that game, I do feel at least like he could go in there and do some things if Russell Wilson had to go out for a game or two.
Yeah, he looked a lot like the guy at TCU that won a bunch of games there. I mean, he looked like himself out there and comfortable under center in shotgun, doing anything. I thought he looked really good. That was a nice solid showing. Jake Heaps didn't hurt himself.
No,
in the competition.
We'll probably see more of him in this next game. I think they wanted to see what they got out of what they had with Boykin and see if he could come in and react in that particular moment.
Yeah, one of the things that was really fun was watching the team's reaction, right?
Yeah,
to the touchdown and when Pope runs it in for the 2-point conversion. Really fun stuff.
So here it is. This is your game. It's 16-15. Boykin takes the snap. He hands off to Pope. He's in. The Seahawks come back and win this football game. And look at them on the field. You'd think that they just won the NFC Championship. Holy smokes, what a finish. The Seahawks come back on the last drive. A last gasp touchdown pass brings them to within a point. And Pope takes it in from a yard out for the 2-point conversion. The Seahawks win 17-16. Oh, my goodness. That's just what a great plane flight this is going to be for these young guys.
That was fun, Adam. That was fun. You know why that was fun?
Because it's better to win than it is to lose?
Exactly.
Yep, for sure, man. For sure. But the players were genuinely excited for those young guys, right? I mean, you see Sherman and Wilson and all those team leaders and Earl just fired up for those guys. And that camaraderie seems to be there early. It's really cool. And it was really fun and an interesting game. It was just nice to see him play again, man. This would be great. And we get to see him again here pretty quickly coming up on Thursday.
Yeah, coming up on Thursday against the Vikings. Now, you mentioned Tanner McAvoy's name, and you talk about things being interesting. Tanner McAvoy has an interesting story. A guy who went to the University of Wisconsin, Russell Wilson's alma mater. He played quarterback. He played wide receiver. He played safety. Safety might have been the spot on the field where he had the most success at the University of Wisconsin. He had 6 interceptions as a safety there. He probably matched his college total in receiving yards just in this one preseason game. I think he maybe had just over 100 yards as a wide receiver. But to be able to have that kind of versatility, Coach Carroll said they tried him out at safety just to see if he had anything special there before they tried moving him back over to wide receiver. And he has that big body for a wide receiver that they were looking for before. And maybe he can develop into the type of big-bodied wide receiver that they want on the outside.
Yeah, I'm not getting too excited yet. I mean, this is the new Chris Matthews. Great. You're tall. You catch balls up high. You do it a couple times.
He didn't even jump for that.
No, he just reached up.
Had to reach
he's a
up.
Tree. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for the kid. I I would love it if it worked out. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it's Chris Matthews again.
Sure. And we've talked about it before that as far as wide receivers go for the Seahawks team, you have 4 guys in my mind that are solidified. You have Doug Baldwin, you have Tyler Lockett, you have Jermaine Kearse, and you have Paul Richardson. Those are 4 guys. That 5th spot really could go to any one of these guys on the roster. And to me, I think that's why special teams plays such a big role in figuring out who will get that 5th spot. Maybe they go 6, but who knows?
Who knows? I guess we'll see when they do cut down the roster. But you're spot on with McAvoy, and all of the things that he does, and his versatility will be key. And that's one of the things that will get you to stick on an NFL roster if you're not a star at, say, any one position. You know, being versatile is a big deal. That's because when push comes to shove, they have an emergency wide receiver, safety, quarterback, whatever.
Well, you saw it with B.J. Daniels, right? He was the 3rd string quarterback. He could play a little bit of receiver, and that's why he fit on the team so well. And now, if McAvoy works out, you have a guy that can play safety too.
Sure. So anything else that stood out to you in this game that you wanted to cover? I mean, that was kind of it for me for the most part.
Just the beginning and the end, that middle stuff. That second team offensive line or third team offensive line was not great. We saw...
Well, let's talk a little Jari Evans, actually.
Jari Evans, he got beat a couple times. That concerned me.
Like bad.
Yeah. One guy that was... he got beat a few times too was George Fant. Over at left tackle. But to me, for a guy who really doesn't play, that's only played left, this is his first time playing left tackle. Like he played basketball in college, and then a little bit of tight end his final year. And for him to look as good as he does is promising.
Oh, sure. I mean, a guy with all the athleticism in the world, basically Tom Cable was like, yeah, he's a little overwhelmed out there, but we expected that. That was a good thing for him.
But to me, Fant looked better at left tackle than Odiombo looked at left tackle. And Odiombo played left tackle his entire college career.
Sure, but the good news is Odiombo looked good at everything else he did. Because they put him
looked good at left guard.
Almost every single position on the offensive line throughout that game. And he looked very competent in pretty much every place except for left tackle. And that was one of the question marks about him coming out of the draft, right? Was the idea that he may not have the foot speed to play left tackle.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's maybe what you saw in this game, maybe not. I mean, it's one game, it's just a few snaps. We'll go from there. But the idea that Odiombo is that versatile, again, speaking to that point on the offensive line, that was really cool. I didn't see much out of Sokoli in this game. He got out there again talking about the raw, undeveloped lineman prospects. So maybe those things eventually work out. Maybe it takes a few more years. I don't know. But I was just happy to see that we have at least one functioning unit as an offensive line, and the backup guys will sort all that out, whether that's Terry Poole or whoever. So, but yeah, not the greatest showing. Now Jari Evans has hurt his knee as well and will not play in the next game. He's feeling a lot like an Antoine Winfield here. Come in, get a check for preseason, and see, adios amigos.
Well, and the Seahawks like to keep the younger guys too, so that might mean a guy like Terry Poole makes the team where he otherwise wouldn't, and or a number of those young guys. Will Parachak, kind of those on the bubble spots for the offensive line.
And so it looks initially that Evans doesn't have a lot left in the tank. That he may very well be done.
It's one game, like you said. It might just be, the issues of not working through the offseason maybe as hard as you could. Who knows?
Sure. It's hard telling not knowing, right?
You want to talk a little bit of Frank Clark while we're talking about some of the things that we saw throughout the middle of the game? Frank,
sure.
Clark, he does not
played a lot.
I think he's reading the Michael Bennett playbook of not liking quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think that has been passed down to him. He certainly does not like the quarterbacks. He planted one of their dudes pretty hard on a play, and didn't he get called for roughing the passer?
Yeah, because he picked the guy up and kind of slammed him down.
Yeah,
and then he did it again a second time, and he didn't get called that time. But
right, yeah, exactly. So I mean, he got some pressure. He got a lot of run out there throughout the game. You saw him for the majority of the game. They're just trying to get him some extra experience and that sort of thing. But guy that looks like he belongs, that's for sure. And so that's great to see. I think when you end up with him and Averill and Bennett all out there at the same time, it's quite the combination. So it'll be fun to watch.
And then the other guy on defense, and you mentioned him a little bit earlier, Cassius Marsh. You didn't really see him that much at the strong side linebacker position, but you did see him filling in behind Cliff Averill in that role on the defensive line and looked really good throughout the game.
He did look really good throughout the game, and I do think he's more suited as the pass rushing D end than basically a linebacker. It's just he's not built for it.
Sure.
I mean, I understand he's close to Irvin's size and everything, but Irvin was a crazy special athlete. And I'm not taking anything away from Marsh. It's just he's a very good athlete too, but he's just not. I just don't envision him in that linebacker role.
Yeah,
I think for him, again, it's just being healthy and being in the backup pass rushing situation for D ends and backing up Averill. Also looked good on special teams as well.
He did.
He's a great player there. He does very well in space doing that. So a good game for him, a good showing for a guy who could potentially be on the bubble. So that's good good for him.
He solidified my belief that it's going to take two people to replace Bruce Irvin. You're going to have Mike Morgan on the early downs, when it's a potential running play, and then you're going to bring Cassius Marsh in for passing situations.
I think you maybe bring Pickens in for passing situations because his cover skills are really good.
Maybe
because he's a former safety.
Yeah. Depends on how you decide to cover it, whether or not you're
dropping in coverage or rushing. But yeah, I mean, we'll find out. Brandon Browner got out there and played a little bit. I thought he played fairly well. Corners look good overall, right? We said we were going to talk about Shed and all that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Shed had a nice game. I mean, nothing remarkable, but played well.
Yeah.
I thought Simon played fairly well. Ty Smith did all right.
Thurl Simon did have the one pass interference call when thrown his way, and that's par for Thurl Simon, I guess.
Yeah, par for Thurl Simon, I suppose, for sure. But yeah, it's looking more and more like Shed your starter out there, I would say, anyways.
Yeah, I'm still interested to seeing who's going to round out the backups. If it's going to be Thurl Simon, Marcus Burley, Ty Smith, if we're going to see anything from him special in the preseason this year. Yeah. Those are guys I'm going to still be watching, I think.
You betcha. But that was a lot of fun, man. Fun to see him suited up again. And it was about almost as fun as our trip out to training camp.
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit. Being there at training camp, they had Navy Region Northwest out there and got the Navy guys going through some drills after practice. Fun seeing all those folks out there. And yeah, just a good time. Adam, your first experience at training camp, how was it for you?
My first experience at training camp, and I think the first thing that hit me is I was so overwhelmed, not in a bad way, but in the sense that how big of a production training camp is and how much time, effort, energy, resources the Seahawks put in for the fans for just training camp. It feels like a game day. I mean, the second you get off the bus, there's greeters right there. Hey, how's it going? How's your day? Welcome to training camp. Super excited. I mean, they got food and they've got Seagulls and they got Blue Thunder out there and Blitz running around and the energy's super high and all of the different tents and stuff like set up with different things. And I just, what a production for day. And that was the thing that hit me is that's day in, day out for all of the open training camps.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot.
And most of them are open.
Yeah. And how much does a fan pay for that if they're lucky enough to get a ticket?
Yeah, $8 for the bus ride.
For the bus ride. And you get that experience. And I thought that blew me away, was the overall production that the team puts in for each and every practice. I mean, and then even just on our side of things, going in and doing the media side of things, all of the support staff that was there and all of the nuts and bolts that went into that, man, I mean, there's maybe 1,000 people working on any given training camp day would be my guess. I mean, or, maybe 500 or so. I mean, but what I'm saying, it's a lot. It's surprising. Yeah. It really surprising.
You're probably a little high, but yeah, there are a lot of people working to make that happen.
I'm not high, Brandon. I'm sober.
Okay. Fair enough.
But a lot of folks, and it was super cool. And I enjoyed the heck out of it, man. It was cool watching the players up close and personal. We got to talk to a few guys. That was fun. And, yeah, it was a neat experience, no doubt about it.
One of the things about it, you got to see you don't get to be on the same level as the players very often to see just how the size of them compare, not only to normal size humans, but to each other.
Right.
And one of the things that really stood out, because we watched the offensive line a little bit, and one thing that really stood out is how small Joey Hunt compared to all the other offensive linemen. Because you pointed out, Adam, that Patrick Lewis seemed small to the offensive lineman. And I said, well, how about Joey Hunt? And he was even smaller than Patrick Lewis.
Yeah, it was kind of surprising. I knew he was on the small side for centers, for sure.
Yeah.
Coming out of the draft, but seeing him next to the other guys, it was like, holy smokes, man, you're going to have to be awesome at everything else to make it in the league. And maybe he will be, I don't know, but that was kind of startling. The other thing that was startling to me is the size of Frank Clark.
Yeah.
In the exact opposite direction. I mean, here's a guy I thought more in the mold of like linebacker size. Like a little closer to that. He's closer to D tackle size, man. He is a mammoth of a man and super fast too. Like, I get it. When you meet him in person, you're like, holy cow. Not that I met him, but like when the Seahawks would have, met him in stuff when they were going through the draft process and everything. I mean, to understand that guy has that sort of skill set and that size, I mean, I can see why they were excited about it.
And the other thing that stood out to me, Terry Poole, when you see a guy that's almost, I don't know, probably 300 pounds.
Yeah, he's got to be 280, 290.
A guy like that should not be able to fit into like a size 34 jeans. Like,
yeah, he was definitely skinny, for the bottom half, which is, something we've known about him, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, a lot of different body types out there. That's for sure. It's pretty cool. I think the other thing I noticed is that the kickers and the long snapper are lazy as catfish. They don't do anything. They don't do anything. I never want to hear John Ryan or Hauschka or any of those guys talk about how hard they work in training camp. I never want to hear it again. I watched them just stand there for like 2 hours. Sometimes they'd throw the ball around. Occasionally they'd kick one.
They played catch more than they kicked balls.
Yeah, all by themselves on the other field.
Yeah, on the closer field to the fans too. It was like they were the show. You know, they were on the field closer to the fans and just throwing the ball around and playing catch. And
I didn't see them run.
What? Those guys clearly don't need to work at them, because what did you see on game day when the Kansas City Chiefs? You saw Stephen Hauschka kick 3 field goals. I think one of them was under 50, but not by much. It might have been 48, 49 yards. And then you saw John Ryan booming punts. So clearly.
Yeah, that's something I forgot to mention was John Ryan was kicking the heck out of the ball, man. I mean, everyone was 60 yards plus with huge hang time. He was crushing it.
See, those guys are like Allen Iverson. They don't need practice.
Practice? Yeah, man. Clearly they don't. I just wanted to bang on him, though, because I thought it was funny. But, I mean, Freeze, the long snapper, that's what's funny. We asked in last show, how long snapper doesn't participate or doesn't seem to play any other position on the offensive line ever.
Because he has to play catch with the field goal kicker and the punter, apparently.
Yeah, pretty much. They need the third person to complete the catch triangle, right? I mean, that must be what it is. Because he didn't do crap with the offensive line, man. He just out there hanging out with the kickers.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. But a good time. Now, one thing that I also wondered about was it's often, even from where the media stand, it's often difficult to actually see what's going on in a lot of these drills and things like that. So when you hear these reports, so-and-so looks like this, so-and-so made a great play, whatever, maybe take it more with a grain of salt than maybe you did before. I mean, maybe if you've been to a ton of training camps and stuff, it's a lot easier for you to pick out some of those things. I mean, that could very easily be. But for me, it was difficult to get a real feel of who was performing, who wasn't. I mean, I read some of the stories after training camp the day that we went and, talking about things that happened that I was like, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, like one story, Fetty got in another fight that day. I didn't see that.
No, but we were doing other stuff too.
That's true.
One thing we did see, Jimmy Graham back into practice.
Yeah. Off the pup list and out there participating in some of the drills and stuff. So that was good to see.
And then we got news today, or on Monday. We got news on Monday that Thomas Rawls is out there working with, because we knew that he came off the PUP list, but now he's out there working with the team, running. And I don't know if we'll get to see him coming up here against the Vikings, but it means he's getting close.
That does mean he's getting close. And the Hawks said that they would ease him back in and all that for sure. Nice thing is that we do know that we have Michael there so that we can take our time with Rawls and make sure he comes back fully healthy and we don't rush it. And that's a really great luxury to have.
And Alex Collins looked okay out there too.
Sure did. Yeah. Oh, I don't want to take anything away from Alex Collins. I thought he did just fine out there. No doubt about it. You bet.
So exciting to have just depth at running back. And you heard Pete Carroll mention that it's good to have that amount of depth. One thing that he did mention too, and we should have talked about the fact that because this team did come back late in the game, that was exciting for a guy like Coach Carroll, because a guy who preaches finishing game in and game out, to see the young guys come in and finish with that same mentality that the veterans already have. You know, Coach Carroll's excited about that.
Oh, he's got to be too. And especially being able to play his little mind game with Boykin of bringing him back in when he wasn't quite expecting it. And, which was smart too, right? Because as a backup quarterback, you
don't know. You don't know when you're going in.
Yeah. And so it just kind of reiterates that lesson to a rookie. Hey, I know you used to start and everything, but like now you've got to always be mentally in the game and ready to rock. So, it was great to see the way that they finished. That was a lot of fun. There's no doubt about it.
Mark Dolphin on Facebook, I thought he had a good comment, taking the spin in a little bit different direction. Preseason is just practice, and they practice what they do best, playing terrible the whole game and then making magic happen at the end to get the win. It's exciting, but I really wish they would pick a new strategy.
As long as they win at the end of it, I'm not gonna complain too much. But yeah, man, get your heart checked. I'm telling you, because it's true. That's exactly how this team plays. They pull it out of their butts all the time. That's how they do it.
Yeah, I don't know if it is good to have the rookies have that same mentality, but then again, I would like just the winning to start sooner.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. I would appreciate that. A blowout or two in our favor wouldn't hurt my feelings. I'll just put it that way. I enjoy those just as much. I really do.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what we'll see for the Seahawks coming up against the Vikings Thursday evening. Because this Vikings team, this was a team that the Seahawks faced in the playoffs, a really solid NFL football team. And one thing that's exciting to me, Adam, is here we have another team with a pretty solid group of guys on the defensive line. It's going to give the Seahawks a little bit of test in the preseason that I think we want to see.
Big time. Let's see if we can go ahead and build on the success that they had in Kansas City as far as offensive line is concerned. And that's the great thing about the Kansas City game, is that there is some confidence there to be gained, right? And so you take that into your next game and you're feeling good about yourself. It'll be really interesting to see our defense stack up with Adrian Peterson once again. Now, traditionally, we've held Adrian Peterson in check for the most part. I don't know if AP will play. He may not.
He usually doesn't play in the preseason.
Yeah, but I mean, just their run game and all that. It'll be fun just to watch Teddy Bridgewater too and see how much he's progressed a little bit this year. But a good team to look at and see how our depth compares to theirs, because they're a very deep team and one of those teams that's going to be around late in the year, and to see how the backups and the third stringers compete amongst each others between Vikings and Seahawks. That'll be a lot of fun to watch as well.
Yeah, I think the main thing for me to watch, and just because in the second game, you tend to get a little bit more, you're going to get more than just one offensive series with the
probably
first
a quarter. Yeah.
And so to see that group working together, to see how many more drives, how many good drives Russell Wilson can put together with that new offensive line that we're starting to maybe get a little bit excited about. It's exciting because it's okay. It's not terrible.
No, it looked good. Like, it was better than okay. Like, it looked good. I mean, it looked like it was legit.
I don't know if I'm ready to go to good, but it did look good.
Okay, so you are ready to go to good. You said it did look good. Okay, all right. Well, good, because it was good.
It was good.
All right, man. Well, I think we have some pretty cool interviews to share with you guys from when we were at training camp. I'm going to guess you're going to enjoy these.
It's fun because we were able to track down a couple, really, of the most clutch guys in Seahawks team history.
Yeah, right? I mean, you could argue this is 1 and 2, correct? I mean, between Jermaine Kearse and Jordan Big Play Jordan Babineaux, those are two guys that you think of having gigantic impacts and big moments. And so it's fun to talk to them both. Got to talk quite a bit with Babs, just for a hot minute with Jermaine, but it was cool nonetheless. and a fun experience all around. I think you guys will enjoy it.
America this year in Josh Brown. Meanwhile, here's Gramatica. Romo holds. 19-yard field goal attempt. Oh, it is fumbled by Romo, and then Romo's going to run to the end zone, and he's going to get tackled by Jordan Babineaux. Amazing.
Unbelievable.
Crazy is this?
We're down here at Seahawks training camp, and we are joined by a former Seahawk, Jordan Babineaux, Big Play Babs. He's the new digital media reporter and producer for the Seattle Seahawks. Jordan, how you doing?
What's up? Welcome to the VMAC. Quite a scene out here. Many fans have gathered. Obviously, you guys have migrated upon practice. It's great to see men in uniform.
Yes.
I feel well protected.
That's part of the reason why we're out here, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But Jordan, you're the new Seahawks media reporter and producer, and playing for the team, having that background. How is this different with the whole setting with the fans here compared to what the time when you were with the team?
Well, for me, I get a chance now to focus on engagement, fan interaction. I get to meet guys like yourself and military guests who are here, throughout training camp, and I feel like I'm more of an ambassador for the team, different than when I played, and my primary responsibility was to focus on my on the field performance. Now that I've experienced that and transitioned into TV, I feel like there's a lot more community engagement. There's a lot more opportunity for me to build personal relationships, not only with the media, but with great supporters of the organization.
So, Jordan, with the Seahawks and being very connected with the fans and stuff, is that a lot different than other organizations you've been around? Does it seem like they're more fan-friendly overall, having somebody like yourself be able to go out and interact with everybody and kind of make those connections?
I would imagine that it's fans are super excited about their ball club. For me, it's different because, I feel that I can add that personal connection that fans really look for when they have a favorite team or a favorite player. So those are the things that I think would be the bigger impact. I certainly don't want to, downplay a fan's commitment to their team or the franchise that they love, because I think it's equivalent and parallel throughout the entire NFL. Obviously, the Seahawks have a very unique fan base to me, and the organization, I will tell you that they run things a lot different than many of the other organizations throughout the NFL from an alumni standpoint. If you take a look at all of the practices and even during the season at the games, the Seahawks are very good at outreach for their alumni, and that's one of the things that I think differentiates them between other ball clubs, is that they actually care about the previous players who've been on their roster. If you take a look inside the VMAC, there's an all-time roster list of a wall that hangs of every player that ever put on a Seahawks uniform with their autograph, the year they played, and it's just a personal connection. I think that's completely different from the way the Seahawks do things.
Now, you have a pretty special connection with the team because you were a part of one of the biggest plays in my memory in Seahawks history.
Which one?
Well, one in particular, and that's running down Tony Romo before he had a chance to get into the end zone when they botched the field goal. And to me, that just stands out in my mind. Is you see that up on the big screen all the time. That when the Cowboys come to town, that's the play they show. When you go back, and does that play run through your mind still?
It does. I guess I enjoy it most because I grew up in Texas. I'm from Port Arthur, Texas, so you can imagine that is heavy cowboy country.
Oh yeah.
And always going home. There's always but everyone have that bittersweet emotional attachment to it. Actually, being a fan of the Cowboys, but knowing someone personal who had success, in that particular game. So, I still enjoy it, but I think, since then the Seahawks have done a great job of, reclaiming that position, getting back to the playoffs consistently, and what Pete Carroll has built here. I think the NFC Championship play that Richard Sherman made in the end zone with the tip pass, kind of, if not on the same level, have that much more of a bigger impact on Seahawks history, because that was, in my opinion, the play that closed the game and sent them to the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, no. You think of the top ones. You think of the tip, and then you think of Jermaine Kearse and his touchdown to beat the Packers at the end of overtime, and how many other plays in the catch by Jermaine Kearse against the 49ers?
The beast mode run back when we were 7-9 and went to the playoffs and beat the Saints in a home playoff game. The Beast Quake.
Now, what was that game like? I mean, to go up again. Trying to put this into context for people, the team was 7-9 that year.
Right, the expectations were low.
They were, and the world champions come into town, the New Orleans Saints, and everybody's just kind of, I think, expected it to be. They were Drew Brees throwing touchdown passes, and the way the team hung in there.
Well, what made that year different was because we experienced back-to-back years of transition and turnover. Jim Moore's head coaching stint only lasted 1 year, and I believe that year we won 5 games, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. So, our president Todd Lewinke had stepped away and headed out to Tampa Bay to be the president of the Tampa Bay Lightning. We just had turnover with Coach Holmgren era and Jim Moore coming in, trying to institute his program and how he liked to see things, and with that comes changes on the coaching staff. Changes in the way off-season is scheduled, additional practices. And for a coach, that's usually a 2-year, 3-year plan that they have to go in with the existing talent and start to recruit the guys in which fits his program. And so we did that really 3 years straight, because the end of Coach Holmgren's era was very much pushed in the direction of what's next. And Jim Moore at the time was the defensive backs coach, who was waiting on the head coaching position to open. So it was a turnover time, 3 years, I would say, for the Seahawks. I believe in Coach Holmgren's last year we won 4 or 6 games. So, in 2 years to win less than 10 games, and then Pete comes in with his new program and philosophy and wanting to make changes, that was another transition that had to take its time. We went 7-9 that year, but we're able to win a playoff game. And, slowly Pete and John Snyder put together a plan over the time that put them in a position to have the kind of success that which we're seeing them at right now.
So you were around Holmgren, Mora, and Pete. What are the biggest differences between those 3 coaches? Obviously we all know Pete's positivity. We all know that Mike was a little bit of a perfectionist maybe. Yep. But since Jim Mora wasn't here for a long time, I don't know that all of us know him super well. What would you say the biggest difference between the 3 coaches was for you?
Well, Coach Holmgren was, he operated from an old school mentality. Everything was by the book. It was by the schedule. It was 5 minutes early. It was on time. It was be in the right place, know your assignment, stay off the quarterback. We practice smart, but we're still going to get our work in. And for me, coming from a small school like Southern Arkansas, being a free agent, it was exactly what I needed, because there was no room for comfort. And transitioning from Coach Holmgren's era to Jim Moore's philosophy was a little different. Jim started to institute a younger, more approach to how he ran things. Jim's energetic. He's up-tempo and upbeat. I believe the music had just started to come into place. We would never hear music at Coach Holmgren's practice. Never.
It just shocked me.
Oftentimes it felt like Coach Holmgren was unapproachable because he demanded a certain kind of presence and professionalism from everyone. And then Coach Mora comes in, he changes things a little bit, but I didn't feel like he really had a chance to kind of put his finger on it and put a stamp on how he wanted to run things, whether that was front office relationships or managerial, demands and commands. It's beyond me. But on the field, I admired Coach Mora. He drafted my brother when he was the head coach in Atlanta.
Right.
And years later, he's my defensive backs coach before becoming my head coach. So special place for Jim Mora and a special connection to the family. And then Pete Carroll comes in with this college mentality. Oh, Pete Carroll thinks that.
Rah, Pete, right?
Yeah, who does this guy think he is? But, Pete had a plan. And although it wasn't clear to me in the very beginning because, I was a part of what that transition felt like with him drafting Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor and kind of seeing a higher demand at certain positions. If you take a look at the corners, he wanted bigger corners. He wanted big and fast on defense. And if I'm not mistaken, the Seahawks probably is the highest paid defense or second, one or two in the NFL because that's how much value he put into those positions, the defensive line. So just looking at, what Coach Holmgren did, all of his money was on the offensive side of the ball. Sean Alexander, Matt Hasselbeck, the offensive line, obviously Walter Jones. And then you had a bunch of star receivers in Corn Robinson and Bobby Ingram. And, so I think that's the biggest or probably most obvious difference when you take a look at how Coach Holmgren ran the team and where Pete Carroll sees value in certain positions.
Well, Jordan, we have all our military folks out here from Navy Region Northwest. For other military folks that are out there that might be listening in this week, do you have anything that you want to say to them?
Well, certainly want to thank them for their service and what they do. This weekend, or this past week, was very special to me. I had a chance to be King Neptune, which is King of Seafair. And nice. I didn't realize what an honor it was to be the King of Seafair. Obviously, Seafair was started by a group of businessmen who wanted to establish an attraction here in Seattle. 67 years of history. That's before any professional franchise got to the city, before the iconic Space Needle was recognized for what it is today. Seafair had that presence. And the connection that Seafair has with the military, they do a fleet week. I had a chance to meet the Navy captains, admirals. I invited the Blue Angels here over the weekend. Got a chance to watch their show up close and personal from the boats right off Lake Washington, and it was quite a treat. Probably the most memorable part of Seafair was being able to board the USS Somerset vessel, one of three that pays tribute to the 9/11 attacks, and part of that vessel was built from the fragments of that aircraft. And so it holds a very sentimental value. When you walk on the ship, you can sense the presence. There's a museum on the ship that's catered specifically for the 9/11 attacks that recognizes, those families and lives who were taken. And I will tell you, it was quite moving and inspirational to kind of feel that kind of personal connection and bond, just based on the acknowledgement of what the Navy was able to do in making that vessel. So I've never experienced Seafair quite like that. Normally I'm out here chasing pigskin, and it's always around training camp, but this was a real treat. Every November the NFL does a Salute to Service month campaign, and again this year I'll take part in that. Last year I headed out to JBLM and the Army base and military and had a chance to do a watch party, something that I want to do again this year, something that I want to grow. But my connection with the military definitely comes personal connection, because honestly a part of me feels that team-oriented goals that's set on different mission, and there's a personal attraction and likeness to it. And I'm like, am I too old to join? Because, and maybe I'm just kind of recognizing all the cool jobs that everyone gets to do, fly the aircrafts and, travel the world. But there's a tremendous respect that goes into the amount of work and preparation that these guys go into getting ready for combat.
Well, Jordan, really wanted to thank you for coming on the show, and glad we got to run into you down here, and appreciate everything you're doing for the team.
Yep, a real treat. Thank you. Look forward to it.
here at training camp, and we got Navy guys everywhere from Navy Region Northwest. We're joined here by Petty Officer Derek Hall. He's an aviation bosun's mate handler, and here to talk about what he's doing out here today. How's it going, Derek?
It's going great.
So down here, are you a big Seahawks fan or big football fan?
I'm a big Seahawks fan.
Okay, good. That's the best kind of football fan.
The only one that counts, in my opinion, Brandon. Yeah.
So how'd you get picked to be down here and doing what you're doing today?
Well, the USAA put on a program, and we got invited to come out and participate today and come down here to the VMAX to the Seahawks practice, and they asked for volunteers, and I couldn't pass it up.
Now, I don't know. You've probably heard the acronym. I thought Navy stood for Never Again Volunteer Yourself. That's what I'd always heard.
I hadn't heard that one. That's solid, Brandon. Yeah. I've learned all sorts of Navy jargon on this trip out this year. Yeah.
But you volunteered. You're out here. Have they given you an idea of what you're going to be doing?
Well, I'm hearing that here in a little bit we're going to put on some shirts and go out on the field and do a little PT, a little scrimmage. So, and then just possibly an autograph session and watch them practice.
So what's been the best experience so far? Have you had a chance to run into any of the Seahawks players?
We saw Cliff Averill, and then, of course, Jordan Babineaux. He was out here, and just I'm sure we'll see a lot more.
Well, that's great. So talk a little bit about what you do in the Navy. What got you to join?
I grew up in a small town, graduated high school with 10 people, and wanted to get out of there.
Where is that?
Easton, Washington, Central Washington.
Okay. You don't want to give it up. That's fine. You don't have to say what town it was. If you're not proud, that's fine, man. Like it's okay.
I said Easton, like the baseball bat. That's where I'm from.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Easton. Yeah. You didn't hear
Easton. I thought he said Eastern.
No,
okay.
That's what I heard too.
All right.
This is going to be a cool. Have you had a chance to be at training camp before?
No, this is my first time.
Oh, this is good. Well, anything else you want to say to some of the other military folks out there that might be listening?
I just want to say thanks for this opportunity, and it's going to be a fun day.
I only have one more question for you.
What's that?
I think you're going to run the 40 out there, right? Like, that's one of the things. Like, what do you predict your time's going to be?
About 14 seconds.
That's 3 seconds faster than me.
All right, Derek, thanks a lot for coming on.
All right, thank you.
Lynch in the backfield in a pistol formation. Wide receivers to either side. Russell takes the snap, drops back. He's going to throw down the middle. He's got a man. The ball is caught.
Game over, baby.
Touchdown. The game is over. The Seahawks are going back to the Super Bowl in Glendale. What a catch in the end zone. It is Curse, 35 yards. A long day for Jermaine, and he makes the game-winning reception in the end zone. They are going nuts at CenturyLink.
All right, Jermaine, Brandon Schultz, Military Seahawkers. We're running down, I feel like, the most clutch players in Seahawks history today. Earlier we talked to Jordan, big play Babineaux. And Jermaine, growing up in the area, going to high school here, going to the University of Washington, coming to the Seahawks, catching a touchdown in the Super Bowl, being a Super Bowl champion, and then, here you are, you sign a big contract in the offseason. Is this playing out just according to your plan?
I don't think it's like I totally planned for it, but I'll take it. I just try to make the most of each opportunity, and that's kind of what it's all about.
You bet. Now, Jermaine, as just regular fans, and this is a podcast, a lot of regular fans listen, we hear a lot about what goes into being a great route runner as a receiver. And for us, the layman, it's just like, well, you run 10 yards, turn around, and catch the ball. What goes into making a good route? Is it like cutting down your steps? Like, what makes a great route runner?
I mean, it all just depends on the route. Usually, you just kind of got to assess the defense, figure out where your safeties are, and then kind of take a look at the corner, see how he's playing it, and that kind of determines how you want to get into your route. I mean, the release is always, especially after press, is probably the first thing that you assess, and then whatever route it is, got to get to your depth and then just create separation and just being available. So they always say, be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be. So that's kind of the idea of it.
And Jermaine, you have your 15-1 foundation, and today, folks, you've been hosting the military family, military members out here, guys out with Navy Region Northwest. What's it like being around all the military folks out here?
Oh, it's good. It's a lot of fun to have these guys out here and be able to kind of experience a typical day for us. And then I think some of them are about to go through some drills on the football field, so I'm sure they're going to have a lot of fun with that. But it's been great. These guys sacrificed the most to give us the Can't even think of the word.
All right,
No, but they sacrifice the most to and fight for our country, and to be able to be out here with them is awesome.
And you have your, we feel like it means a lot to you because you have your 15-to-1 foundation. For those who don't know about it, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, 15-to-1. We're out here. We support military families, and we specialize in the youth, and just to be able to find out what their passions and just provide opportunities for them to get out there and explore different types of things. Not everybody is athletes, so we got finance classes, starter classes for them to be able to kind of get into that field and kind of get a kickstart into what real living in society is like, and being able to find out what it means to own a business and run a business, or budgeting your finances and all that.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you
very much. Appreciate it a ton.
Thanks to Jordan Babineaux. Thanks to Jermaine Curse for the interviews. Before we go to break, let's hear from Clinton Bonner on what he has planned for the next edition of 3 In, 3 Out.
On this week's 3 In, 3 Out, we're going to get beyond the Hail Mary. We're going to get beyond the W, which we always love some W's, versus the Kansas City Chiefs. And we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty, down to some little things that kind of stood out to us. And we're going to dissect the good and the bad and break down the Seahawks facts of life. You're going to have to tune in to find out who was a little bit lost in space, and is there a backup QB controversy or not? Tune in to this week's 3 In, 3 Out and find out. Exclusively written for the Seahawkers podcast.
The Seahawkers Podcast is the official podcast of the official booster club of the Seattle Seahawks. If you want to get in touch with us, you can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/SeahawkersPodcast. You can follow us on Twitter @SeahawkersPod. You can email the show. We will read your emails on the show. Still. Yeah. I know. And we got some today, Adam. And they sent those to GoHawks@SeahawkersPodcast.com, or you can go to our website, SeahawkersPodcast.com. Click on the contact form and shoot us an email that way.
You betcha.
We even take calls, but nobody uses that anymore. But 253-235-9041 if you want to leave us a message, or just record a message on your phone and email it to us.
Yeah, we will play it on the show. We've done it in the past.
I think that's what scares people.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Bunch of cowards, man. I have to sit here and talk on the mic to you guys. Just do it back for me, man. Like, this could be a two-way street. That's what I want.
And the record there's like a delete button that you can use if you don't like it.
Well, not only that, if you record it and you send it to us and like the next day go, yeah, I don't want him to use that. You can always just like text in the email and be like, can you not use that? Sure. No problem. Like, I mean, it's fine. Yeah.
Well, Adam, I want to talk about this bet that we have with the Rams podcast. Also, we have a welcome to the flock this week.
Yes.
Got a couple iTunes reviews to read and a couple emails, like I mentioned, before we get into our Do Better and Better at Life.
Awesome, man. So let's talk about the bet a little bit with Bear from the Rams podcast. It's going to be straight up rushing yards between Thomas Rawls or Gurley this year. Whoever has more wins. And these are the terms that have now been agreed upon. So in case Bear's listening, I will take my jersey in Wolf Gray. So basically what it'll be is whoever loses has to purchase the opposing player's jersey and put it on, wear it on video, and then also videotape themselves running the 40 in said jersey. And when it's all said and done, send the jersey to the other fella so you have something to hang on your wall. So you get a free jersey out of it, or I get a free jersey out of it. And it'll be fun to watch Bear run the 40. It's going to be great.
Yeah, you'll get to watch Bear run the 40 in a Wolf Gray Thomas Rawls jersey, and then that jersey will show up in the mail shortly thereafter.
Exactly. And I think that's great. That's something that it should properly humiliate somebody, and then also so I get a free jersey out of it. So it's gonna be super cool. I think it's a great bet.
Well, Bear did have something of a message this week. He said, Pete Carroll excited about running back depth. Less carries for Rawls?
Yeah, that's fine. Unfortunately, the Rams have no depth, and so when Gurley goes down in like week 3, they'll be double screwed. It'll be fine.
Well, see, I tweeted back to Bear that, I'm as confident as ever about it. And if we want to set up another bet where Kristen Michael gets more yardage than Tavon Austin rushing the ball, we can do that one too.
Oh, wow. Are you taking that one on?
Well, I told him I would, but Bear was a little bit skittish with that one.
Oh,
he didn't want to go there.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that's a safer bet for him than the Gurley bet.
Well, yeah, Tavon Austin had over 400 yards rushing last year.
That's what I'm saying. I would have taken that bet if I were him, man.
Yeah, well,
Wow.
he lost out.
Oh, well. So, yeah, that'll be fun. So, look, let's all keep our fingers crossed that Thomas Rawls stays healthy this year. Knock on all the wood right now, whatever you're doing. I do not want to have to buy a Todd Gurley jersey. That would suck.
Not only would you have to buy it, but you'd have to run a 40 in it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It wouldn't be good.
Burn the whole way, too. And people be able to watch me lumber down 40 yards and like watch an uncoordinated white guy do it. It'd be worse than Rich Eisen, man.
You would have to get some Eric Dickerson goggles to go with it for sure.
Just for the show of it?
Yeah.
Get a Rasta wig, with some dreads.
Uh-huh.
Like Gurley. Okay.
You'd have to do that.
All right.
Well, as I mentioned,
I'm not going to have to do it. That's the whole point.
That's a good point. But we can put the fantasy out there for Bear to think about of how great it would be, and that's all he's going to get.
So his dream gets crushed.
Yeah,
I like it. You're cruel, but I like it.
I know. Well, we'll do updates as the season goes along and see how we're going. But yes, we have a new member of the flock, Adam.
All right, man. Welcome to the flock. Who we got?
Dave Bloomquist. There's people who listen to the show who I'd say, I know that person is in the flock.
Yeah, but not so much until now.
So
finally, welcome, Dave.
I know. He was enticed by that Steve Largent jersey, I think, for our patron only Pick'em League.
Yeah. So if you guys want to get involved in the Patreon only Pick'em League, where the prizes are pretty sweet, like, Steve Largent jersey signed, but, he's a Hall of Famer and stuff. This is what we want, man. We've been talking about this. And what we really want to encourage people to do, you don't have to donate much. I'm just asking you guys, go out there and $1 a month. That's it. That's less than feeding a hungry kid in Africa. Like this is easy peasy, $1 a month. You don't even have to think about it. You do that. If we get enough people that do that, we can bump up to 2 to 3 shows a week. And this is value for value, people. Like, we're not just trying to just take your money. Saying if everybody did $1 a month, which is nothing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a third of a cup of coffee. Come on, for 1 month, you can do it, and you can get more Seahawkers podcasts in your life.
Exactly. Yeah, $1 a month, and that'll get you. See, if you've been bugging us about wanting to sticker one of our new stickers, $1 a month gets you on our mailing list. We will send you out one of the new stickers, and also one of our custom stickers that only Patreon donors get. And then if you want to go to get in the Pick'em League, you got to go up to the $3 level. That helps us cover the cost of some of these prizes. Of course, It was Ross that donated the Steve Largent jersey, but there will be monthly prizes as we go. And so the more people we can get into that, the better of prizes that we can get. And then we'll have some random prizes. It's going to be a good time.
It's going to be a good time. So don't miss out and get in there. $1 a month. Come on, people. I mean, I guess that's what I'm going to have to do to get a sticker. Is start donating to ourselves for $1 a month, because I've yet to be able to get a sticker.
we got some at training camp, but we are going to be getting more.
But I didn't get any of them.
I know. Well, I got them right here for you, Adam.
Okay, cool.
Maybe I'll see you this weekend.
All right, awesome.
But yes, for everybody else, go to getintheflock.com. Getintheflock.com. That'll take you to our Patreon page where you can chip in however much you feel this show is worth. And if you like getting it for free, that's cool too. We do have a Pick'em League just for if you go to NFL.com, look for the Pick'em League. You'll have Seahawkers podcast. We'll post it up on our Facebook page. And you can get everything. And the other thing too, if you just want to follow some of the free content that we put out on our Patreon page, you can go to getintheflock.com and follow the Seahawkers podcast. You don't have to pay anything, and you'll get an email whenever we send out updates to everyone who follows.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the thing is about people in the flock, Brandon, that wasn't the only Dave to get in the flock this week.
Not the only Dave?
That is not the only Dave. We also had David Mulvaney get in the flock, donating $3 a month. Really appreciate it, man. See, he's going to be in the Patreon Pick'em League with the rest of us.
Nice.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So just wanted to make sure that we give you a shout out to David. All the Daves, everybody, all the Daves or Davids.
If your name is Dave or David, you really should be in our flock.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, one other thing to talk about in the Pick'em League, Adam, the importance of having a really solid Pick'em League name.
Correct. And I think we both have settled on ours for the year. And because it's a big offensive line year, we both decided to go with some offensive liney kind of names. I decided this is going to be my name this year. Last year was just Adam the Rant, and that's fine. But I wanted something. You guys had such creative names last year that I want to try to come up with something a little better this year. I'm not sure it's going to be as good as the rest of you guys, but I'm going with Brittermilk Pancakes. So Justin Britt and pancake blocks all in one thing right there. Brittermilk Pancakes.
I like how you merged the two there. I also did a little bit of a merge with a movie title. See, we talked about posters, and this would be my poster idea for Jermaine Ifedi, our new rookie offensive lineman. I went with that for my Pick'em League name, the Born Ifedi D. The Born Ifedi.
The Born Ifedi D? Yeah, the Born Ifedi.
I needed another syllable in there. It couldn't just be the Born Ifedi. It had to be the Born Ifedi D.
Yeah, no, the Born Ifedi. You got to do it like together, like so it sounds like it. Yeah, exactly. No, I like it, man. That's solid. Yeah, and I know you like movie titles, so I like how you wrap that all in there. So we also have Keith Ketover. Also, did he want to announce his name himself, or are we allowed to talk about it here?
I think we just go out there with it.
Okay, I thought this was pretty solid on his part. He's going with Kick Life in the Rolls.
Yeah, and he gave you a little bit of credit because you had that. That was a part of our show open for so long.
Yeah, exactly. And
not Rawls,
that's what I
but
like. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and for the homage and all that, I appreciate it, Keith. That's good stuff. That's very good stuff. So to do the Pick'em League, even if you're not doing the Patreon League, how do you do the regular Pick'em League, Brandon? Like, how do people find that?
Well, Adam, you can either check it out on Facebook. We'll post the link there, or you can go to seahawkerspodcast.com/pick'em.
That's solid. That's something that even I can find. I'm going to do that today, Brandon. I'm going to get signed up. We had well over 100 people last year in the Pick'em League. It's super fun. A lot of great trash talk. And again, we'll have prizes for that as well. So get in, do the Pick'em League, compete with us. And, if you think you're smarter than us, if not, then you don't have to. But all I know is I'm taking it this year. That's all there is to it. Yep. I finished like 6th last year or something like that.
We already have 20 people in our podcast league, 10 people in our patron league. See, that's another reason to join the patron league. Fewer people.
Yeah, exactly. You have a better odd of picking up a prize. So definitely get on that, folks. I think you'll have a good time doing it. If you don't, you're doing it wrong.
Seahawkerspodcast.com/pick'em. See, we're giving people all kinds of places they can go on this show. And I'll put it in the show notes too. So that way people can track it down if, you don't have a pencil handy or your computer handy while you're listening. All right. iTunes reviews, Adam.
Awesome, man. It's been a while since we've had some reviews. That's great because reviews help the show get noticed on iTunes. So, yeah, thanks for that.
And they help give us, warm fuzzies.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all know I need as many warm fuzzies as possible.
First one here from Fozzie Sheepdog. You guys are doing a great job with the podcast. They cover good topics in an informative manner, have good guests on, and help make you a better fan. Go Hawks.
Oh, awesome, man. Go Hawks. Well, hey, if we're helping for your fandom, I feel pretty proud about that. That's for sure.
Here's one from Buddy Olds, a must-listen for all 12s. Adam and Brandon bring their A game to every episode. Living down in San Diego area, all we hear about are the two dumb teams down here. I won't mention names. Stupid Chargers and Rams. Years ago, I was looking for a way to stay in tune with the Hawks. I came across this podcast and have not missed an episode since episode number 3. Oh, that's good. That number 3 wasn't a very good anyway. You can miss that one.
Yeah. It should have been a great one, Russell Wilson episode, but yeah, no, it fell flat.
Along with the Hawks webpage, this is the best way I keep updated on what the Hawks are doing. They always have great guests who have great insight, and their segments in the show are entertaining and very informative. As a true fan, since I was little, it's great to hear a podcast from fans to fans. I would like to nominate Brandon and Adam for the Better at Life Than Skip Bayless segment for putting on this podcast so fans all over can stay informed Keep up the great work, fellas, and go Hawks.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that a lot. I mean, honestly, we talked about people donating on Patreon, but really the reviews, I mean, if you pour those in, we'll keep doing the show because it strokes the ego, and I really like it. So thanks. But it is nice to know that people are still, finding the show, and especially, again, going into a new year. Maybe this is your first year listening to the pod, and that it adds value to you. And that's really cool for us.
Emails here from our first one, John in the UK. Hi, fellas. So you now have a rival. Craig Humphrey, who found Barry and I at Wembley, told me about the UK Seahawkers podcast. And now it's now on the subscribe list. We keep in touch regularly thanks to you and are going to meet up at Wembley for the Bengals-Redskins game. Barry insists we go, and Barry and I are still planning to come to Seattle in the 2017-2018 season when Seattle are at home to the Redskins. So how do I rate the season? Well, 2013, I knew we were going to win it because I could feel it in my water. That meant the laying down of money, and I won a few quid. I have the very same feeling. I know we are going to win it, and I have already already have a piece of them at 8-1. Believe it is going to happen again, so make the most of it. Go Hawks, from John.
Dude, is it really 8-1 right now?
I
might go put down some cheese on that, man. That's pretty sweet. So John feeling it. He's feeling that we're going to the Super Bowl field that we all that I expressed wholeheartedly last show. But that's good to hear, man. See, when me and John are on the same page, good things happen. I know that for sure. But the one thing I don't understand is what the heck is quid? I thought it was pounds.
It's like bucks.
Oh, is it? So it's slang for a pound?
Yeah, like we don't say I have $3. You say I have $3.
Yeah, I do. Oh, sometimes I say I have $3.
Well, yeah, sometimes I'm sure they probably say 3 pounds sometimes too, but then there's other times they say 3 quid.
I was always confused. I thought maybe like quid was like 10 pounds or something. Like I thought maybe it was like, I don't know, maybe it was metric scale or something. I had no idea.
I could be wrong, but I think that's what it is.
Okay, so slang. Well, see, now the great thing for John is that he doesn't have to have ludicrous questions about British slang when he listens to the UK Seahawks podcast because they'll be speaking his language.
Exactly. Yeah. He brings up the fact that we have a new rival. I don't see it as a rival. I mean, we're all partner. Seahawks fans. Like you can't have rivalries within a fan base. We have like a shared goal of what we want to see our team be good. Like it's not like the rivalry. I mean, we have rivalries, but it has nothing to do with the Seahawks. Like Adam really doesn't like Eastern Washington University, but that's because he's a Montana Grizzly.
That's exactly right. And no, I mean, I like the idea that we have a common goal, and that is spread the Seahawks knowledge and love and the 12s all across the world. And if it's going to be the UK Seahawkers or the German Seahawkers or it's us, let's do it. Let's do it. I love it, man.
I would not say to people listening to the show that you just have to listen on repeat. There are other podcasts out there. And if you're going to listen to other Seahawks podcasts, listen to the UK Seahawkers.
You bet, man. You'll enjoy it.
One more from Ben in Missoula, Adam.
Really?
Yeah.
In Missoula. There. Yeah, we rarely get Missoula emails. That's very cool. What's up, Ben?
Just want to say that I think there's a bit of misunderstanding, Adam, as when it comes to Pokemon Go. The options people who play the game consider aren't, should I go outside and play on my phone or should I go outside and do something else? The options are, should I go outside and play Pokemon or should I stay inside? I know what it's like out here in Montana. I hike Mount Sentinel all the time, and somehow it's always a bit steeper than I remember. But other folks in other places don't have this kind of environment.
All right, Ben. Here's the thing, buddy. I love you because you're in Missoula, too. You're a good guy. But there isn't a misunderstanding, and I'm going to give you a direct example why. I was at dinner last night, and I was talking to a gal who was in Oregon this past week, okay? And you say it's about, get outside or not get outside rather than get outside and do Pokemon or get outside and do something else, right? Well, look, if you're going to go outside and do Pokemon, stay inside. Like, stay inside and do this weird thing inside so I don't have to look at you and other people don't have to look at you, because this is the type of situation that happens. So this gal was down in, it was like Tukwila or something like that. I don't know. It was a weird naming town.
Tukwila?
And what's that?
Tukwila and like Seattle area?
No. This is down by Portland.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it was something odd like that. Anyhow.
Is this a made-up story or a real story?
No, it's a real story. So they're sitting out having dinner in the hotel restaurant out on the back deck. And the back deck overlooks a man-made lake. And there's a big track that goes all the way around the lake, big trail, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they looked and they saw all these people out there, and they were just walking in circles basically around this lake. But the weird part was they were just dead silent. And so they were sat there and they were trying to figure out what the heck was going on. So they were like, well, maybe it's like a walk for cancer thing or, something like that, right? Because it's like 150 people walking around this lake. And so then they decided, well, let's track like a person or two and see if they are indeed doing laps or if it's like, if it's just a bunch of different people moving by, and it's a kind of a shifting crowd. And sure enough, it's the same people kind of just doing laps. And then they noticed that everybody was staring at their phone. And they were all walking around this lake completely silent, staring at their phone, not saying a word to one another, until one of them, an old man, proclaimed, "There's a squirtle over there." And they all rushed to this tree and maddeningly tapping at their phone, like trying to catch the squirtle. She said it looked like Pokemon zombies, like walking around out there. All these people just staring at their phone, like not looking at another person, not doing anything like that. She said it was eerie and scary. This is the point. That's the downfall of our society. We cannot have this. We can't turn into Pokemon zombies. And that's what's happening. This is a real life account from Oregon where this just happened. So her friend, who's real funny, decided to walk out there. And as they were just about to leave, she proclaimed, "There's a squirtle over there." And they all ran over there. And I find that to be funny. So this is a bigger problem than it looks, Ben. I know it sounds like it should be a good thing, but it's a bad thing. It's like a false flag operation or something. Like, this is bad news.
I don't know if this is bad news because to me it sounded like a made-up story. So I would fact check that before.
This is not a made-up story. This is a first-hand account from me now. It's second-hand. But listening to this person, first-hand account. She had no reason to lie about this. I didn't even talk to her about Pokemon before this. She just happened to tell this story, and I was like, "Are you serious?" And she's like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'm totally." Her name's Karen. I said, "Karen, I'm going to use your story on the show." And she's like, "All right, you do that."
Yeah, that's weird. You told me your girlfriend's name from Canada was Karen, so
no,
that's really weird.
Jessica.
Well, to me,
and that's
Adam,
just my Canadian girlfriend. Okay,
yeah.
Like don't get them all confused.
Am I getting confused? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I say to people: if you like, if there's something that you enjoy doing, don't listen to what Adam says and go have fun doing it.
Don't be a zombie.
But don't be a zombie.
That's what they were. They were zombies.
Okay. That's the part. That's the takeaway from this story.
Zombies.
Don't be a zombie.
Yeah. Okay.
Because we don't like zombies.
Yeah. I know how the zombie apocalypse now happens to mankind, and it's Pokemon Go.
I don't know. I think people can avoid that.
Apparently not.
I have faith.
All right, man.
What do you say we get into some do better and better at life?
Okay. All right. So why don't you start us out on do better here?
All right. Well, this week there was the announcement that the Seahawks, for some unknown reason, decided to go ahead and, well, there's an interesting story here. So what happened this last week or so, the Seahawks, we know the 12th man from the Texas A&M that the Seahawks had purchased the rights to use after, A&M got their underwear in a bundle after the 2005 Super Bowl season because they finally figured out that the Seahawks have been using the 12th man thing for, I don't know, since they were 1976. But then the Seahawks had to go and pay licensing rights, and that license expired. Well, there were some people that got super happy. For some reason, within our fan base, Adam, it's like you have the 12th man crowd and you have the 12s crowd, and apparently, I don't know, it can't overlap or something. Can't cross streams with the 12th man and 12s based on some of the comments that I see out there. But you haven't seen these.
I have not seen these.
Okay. Well, To me, I don't understand why there are even people out there that concern themselves with knocking marketing slogans. Probably the same people that knock mascot outfits, updates, when Blitz changes from one look to another, or knocking a person's choice to wear like a certain number jersey. Some people are very against people wearing a 12 jersey. They say you should support a player, but and then you have people that say, well, you can't buy a knockoff jersey, and buying a knockoff jersey makes you less of a better fan. But if you're the type of person that thinks that, then you're an catfish. So
yeah, that's exactly how you should put it.
Let somebody who is a fan of a team be a fan. Because they're a new fan doesn't make them less of a fan, or because someone's never been to a game doesn't make them less of a fan. Because someone likes the term 12th man more than the term 12s doesn't make them less of a fan. I don't understand the whole inter-fandom rivalry.
Squabbling.
Just be fans. It's cool. We all like the same team.
Yeah.
And if you can't be that way, you need to do better.
You're right, man. Do better. That's ridiculous. Who cares if you say 12th man or 12s or the 12ths? I mean, however many ways you can say 12s. Who gives a crap, man? Go Hawks. That's
Exactly.
the point.
Yeah.
All right. I'm with you, man. All right. Well, my do better this week will be kind of short and sweet because we often go after crappy journalism. And as a result, we often go after Jason Cole from Bleacher Report.
But Jason Cole does not have his own theme music yet.
No, but he's working on it. It would have to be something incredibly boring. Like that. That's definitely it. Because, man, this dude has the personality of a rock. Like, I mean, I don't understand how they put him on camera week in, week out, doing these quote unquote reports. I could do this crap. In fact, I'm going to try to do this crap here probably in another day or so. And basically, the point being is he does an awful job at it. And he's somehow supposedly gotten the reputation of being an insider somehow, right?
Yeah.
So he comes out with his latest video on Bleacher Report, and it's, quote, insider buzz, concern over Jimmy Graham's explosiveness after serious injury. So I'm like, all right, did something new happen? Like, is there a setback or whatever? So I click on the video, right? Now I got to listen to it.
You clicked it.
I clicked it.
Don't click.
And then I was treated to Jason Cole being like, Jimmy Graham got hurt last year. It was bad. I heard an insider say they're concerned about his explosiveness. Wow. Jason Cole, you suck at journalism. How is that even a story? Of course, you get hurt doing anything, and everybody's going to be like, well, I don't know. Do you think you'll come back the same way? There's always a concern. But no, you put it in a stupid headline, and you give me your stupid, drawn-out, monotone BS that I had to click on and watch. I can't get that minute 30 back of my life ever. It's gone, and it's your fault. And for all of that and your shoddy, quote-unquote, journalism, like, that's not even a... He didn't even get like another source. Just an insider told me they're concerned about his knee. Eeyore. Like, ridiculous. You suck at this. You suck at journalism. Do better.
Yeah, if Eeyore had a theme song, it would be for Jason Cole.
Good Lord, man.
See, Adam, I think you can be good at this because Jason Cole gets a lot of clicks. All you have to do is listen to things that John Clayton says. He's a Seahawks insider. You just listen to the things John Clayton says. And then you can get on camera and say, I heard an insider say this, and you're golden. And you are far more entertaining on camera to watch. You're going to be good at this.
Yeah, because I have a pulse. Like, it's not going to be hard. The bar's low, so I'm fine with that. I mean, just on looks alone, like, we're dead even, and so that's fine.
Jason Cole is not a 7, Adam.
Yeah, Jason Cole, I mean, I'm not sure I'm a 7. Like, I keep proclaiming I am, but, like, there's a little false bravado in it, right? So, yeah, it's not, this guy stinks at this, man. And I'm so tired. And every time I click on one of these stupid videos of his, it's the same, just garbage. It's just, Odell Beckham Jr. is probably going to catch a lot of footballs this year. Gee, thanks, dude, for the insight. How does this guy have a job?
You should either, for your YouTube videos that you're working on, Adam, you should either try and be better than Jason Cole or try and be worse. And I can't decide which one's going to be more entertaining.
Oh, that's a good point, actually. Because you could go like, mockumentary style almost and like, be worse, but in a mocking way.
You give your name like Case and Joel. Hi, I'm Case and Joel, and this is what I heard from an insider with the Texans.
I may be sleep reporting right now. He stinks, man. All right, let's go. Let's get more uplifting. Let's go on to Better at Life than Skip Bayless. I'm going to go first because yours is great. And mine's just so-so.
I'm glad we've set up the listeners appropriately.
Yeah, exactly. Managing expectations. That's all we're doing.
Yeah. Hey, just go ahead and skip ahead 30 seconds for Brandon's. Mine. It's okay. You can listen if you want.
Yeah, it's fine. But my Better at Life than Skip Bayless this week is none other than Josh Gordon. And I know that some people will think that that's kind of an odd Better at Life because of all of the problems that he has had in basically short-circuiting his young career. Mainly because he couldn't stop smoking weed, which is ridiculous. It's easy to stop smoking weed at any given time. You just stop smoking weed. It's not, this isn't meth. It's weed.
There still has to be a want-to factor, though. You have to want to stop.
Right, exactly. Well, because of all of his suspensions and as bad as it got, he had to jump through quite a few hoops to finally get reinstated. And it looks like, from some of the quotes that I've heard from him and everything that he's done, and with Roger Goodell now reinstating him, he could literally play in the next preseason game. He's been activated off the non-football injury list just here on Monday, and he can now practice with the Browns. And so for getting his life together, putting his priorities where they need to, and coming back, unlike Johnny Manziel, right, a guy that he was hanging out with. Mm. Josh Gordon took the necessary steps, turned things around, and is now coming back to the NFL, where you can see how easy it is to go the opposite direction with Manziel, where he's now living in a gutter somewhere, I'm sure. And Josh Gordon, for getting it together, getting activated off the non-football injury list, now participating with the Cleveland Browns, you are better at life than Skip Bayless.
Yeah, you undersold it, Adam, because I like a good underdog story, a good comeback story. And it's the next step on the comeback story for Josh Gordon.
Now, yeah, we'll see if he can still be a productive player. I mean, when you're off the field for a couple years, skills can go away, even if you're a young guy.
Ricky Williams came back. Michael Vick came back after his issues. I think
it's not impossible. I think he could too. He was a tremendous talent when he was on the field. So I'm rooting for the kid.
Well, my Better at Life this week comes from a Monday morning announcement from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Adam.
Yes.
And Kenny Easley is getting a shot to make it in the Hall of Fame. Now, he's not in yet, but the Hall of Fame announced today that he's a senior finalist. And so that means once the voting comes around, he still needs to get 80% of the vote. And that vote will happen the day before Super Bowl 51. We saw this last week. Easley announced on Twitter here recently that he's recovering from triple bypass surgery. So this is going to be a really cool announcement for him being in recovery from that. And, looking back over the years, Adam, it looks like the players selected as senior finalists are ultimately, for the most part, ultimately inducted. There's about 15% who don't get enough votes and don't make it into the Hall of Fame. But, for 85% of the guys, so this is really good news. It looks like we'll have another member of the Seahawks announced as a Hall of Famer when we get to Super Bowl 51. And for that, Pro Football Hall of Fame, better at life than Skip Bayless.
That's really cool news, man. And does it make you wonder a little bit that he announces that he had triple bypass surgery and they're like, oh, yeah, he's a finalist now?
Yeah, because Ken Stabler, he didn't get to make it to his induction. And right. That's a bit sad when you have that talented player that really should have been in long ago in terms of Ken Stabler and really for Kenny Easley too. And so, very good news.
It's very good news. Can't wait for the enforcer to be in the Hall of Fame. Now, look, what's really cool is that he's one of the more under the radar Seahawks. That's one of the reasons why we had him on our top 15 guys that you should know. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't know about his career and what he accomplished and what he meant to the game. Yeah. And all of that.
Well, and for people too, I could see it as reading some of the comments beneath some of these articles. People look at his stats and they and that's all they see. They see his stats and they go, well, he doesn't have Hall of Fame stats. And that's because they never got to see him play.
Yeah, exactly. Did you have Hall of Fame impact? So
right. Gale Sayers was, he's notorious for being an incredible player. Doesn't have Hall of Fame stats. Joe Namath, when you look back, he doesn't have Hall of Fame stats. I went back and I watched a little bit of Super Bowl III because on If you have the NFL Game Pass, you can go back and rewatch some of the old Super Bowls. Joe Namath, man, he could sling it.
Oh yeah, man. Oh, he had a gun for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had not Hall of Fame stats, but had Hall of Fame impact. No doubt about it, man. I guarantee we will win.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what that's all about. So pretty cool, man. That's great news.
All right, Adam. Well, what do you say we get out of here and we come back next week and talk about recap the game against the Vikings and talk about the upcoming matchup against the Cowboys in Week 3. Going to be fun times.
You betcha, man. Full show for you guys. Appreciate it. And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Thanks for tuning in to our show. The Seahawkers podcast is hosted on Libsyn.com. If you're thinking about starting your own podcast, visit Libsyn.com, Libsyn.com, and use promo code SHP to get free podcast hosting for the rest of this month and all of next month. That's promo code SHP. Visit Libsyn.com, use your promo code. Go Hawks.